Quality for Growth podcast. This is a platform where we get to incite businesses to grow and expand with an international eye. My name is Clara, your host. And without further ado, allow me to introduce to you our guest for today.
Introducing our exciting podcast guest for this episode, Ms. Chananga Nkowani. She is the president of the Multi-Purpose Women in Mining Association of Zambia, MWIMAZ. Chananga Nkowani is also the director in the Lusaka Chambers of Commerce, a managing director and founder of Gillis Trains Enterprises. She is currently heading and advocating for women awareness of precious stones and value addition in Zambia and SADC region.
Ms. Wembia, you're welcome to this podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
People would want to know, who is Ms. Wembia? Yes. Who is the president for MWIMAZ? Where did you yield from? How did you become the president for women in mining, for multi-purpose women in mining?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I think to do with, if I would explain more about mining, is I actually come from a family that has been doing mining for quite a long time.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, our business brand has been there since 1983.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so my mom's been into business for so long, so I think I took that entrepreneurship from her. Basically, I think the most important thing about mining is really understanding the sector. And it's not really about the qualifications that we bring on board, because to really do mining is you have to be hands-on and really understand the sector itself. I mean, of course, there are precautions and safety to be taken into aspect.
Okay.
But overall, I hope I'll be able to explain more as we go.
Absolutely. Just for the women that are listening and they are saying, how do I become part of this? Can you tell us a little bit about MWIMAZ? What is MWIMAZ? Just what you stand for, your values.
Yes. So our vision as MWIMAZ, our mission is obviously we advocate on behalf of women that are mining.
Okay.
And we also thought there was a need to build up a market.
Okay.
Linkages. And also the value addition, which is not only to begin to sell the raw materials, but actually also add value to our minerals.
Absolutely.
Yes,
so how do women actually get to join this your wonderful organization?
Well, joining is not, we have a criteria that we're following as women. Okay. Obviously, any person should be a Zambian citizen and have an NRC.
All right.
They should have an NRC.
Yeah.
And just for the record, Madam Clara, is when we say women, we're not only saying we're only dealing with women alone.
Absolutely. Yes. Because I think I've seen men in your association.
Yes, we have men as well. We have also the youths as well, which is very, very, very important, because to build up a system, you need to have, everybody has a part they need to play.
Yeah.
So they need to be obviously of Zambian citizen. They need to have a national registration card.
Okay.
And also now with the Ministry of Mines, our requirement is that one should also have a trading permit as well to be able to trade in the minerals.
Absolutely.
Which is very, very important, because we obviously respect the laws of the land, which is, as we're trading, we also need to be obviously in the confines of the law to be able to be permitted to trade. So you're able to get a trading license at the Ministry of Mines, which is not very expensive.
Yeah.
About 2,100 kwacha that somebody should have to be able to trade, so that when you're found with the minerals, at least you have the documentation that supports that you're able to have those minerals with
Absolutely.
you. Yes.
Absolutely.
So those are the criteria, and then our value core obviously is integrity.
Yeah.
We obviously understand capacity building to be very, very important, because we need people to really understand what we're doing here. Mining has been there from time immemorial. And when you hear people mention about mining, everybody thinks about
new thing. This thing has been around.
It's been around, and that's why it's actually stands on our flag, orange for the minerals.
Yes, absolutely.
But mostly people would always talk about copper, and we say yes, copper is there. It's got value. But then there are other things that we can also be able to do.
Stones.
So the precious stones, and that's where we, the women, I think, are coming in very vibrantly, trying to push the women to really understand, and also the communities, which is everybody to understand, to say we have these precious minerals. How best can we use them to be able to develop our country, help our people, and obviously sustain the economy as well.
And as we speak about that, we realize that the mining sector has actually been very sustaining to the Zambian economy for a long time, as well as the agriculture sector. But because we are putting more emphasis on mining today, what we are saying is, how do we then ensure that we don't lose touch with our natural resources? How do we impart this information into the minds of the young ones that are coming up? Can we marry mining, specifically mining, with education?
Of course.
Starting from a tender age. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
That is a very, very viable thing that you've said, Madam Clara, and looking at the fact that you've actually just maybe spoken our minds.
Yeah.
Because there is need for people to really understand mining.
Yes.
And by doing that, you're right, we need to introduce this in the education sector.
Yes.
So meaning we need to go back and see how we can collaborate with the stakeholders and the institutes that are able to introduce mining itself
as a curriculum
as
education,
part of what we can learn, because it's something that has to be installed in people at a very young age to really understand it. It's the same thing as entrepreneurship. People need to be able to have an interest to want to trade or do something out of the normal norms of the education out there. So there's need obviously for this mining industry to be introduced in the education system so that we can be able to draw more attention to it by people really understanding what the minerals are and obviously understanding the districts that we have, which minerals are found where and how best can we be able to use them and for what purpose.
Your association particularly deals with precious stones.
Yes.
And I know that you're so passionate about the precious stones, which is what I love about you, because you picked a sector and you quite flow very well with it. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe one or two precious stones that you think people need to know at the bottom, something that can be easily accessed, yet when you add value, it is something that can actually be very lucrative.
Yes, you're very right. Thank you so much. I think that you've actually noticed the passion that is out there, which is very true. And we're really hoping that we can have more women that will come on board and really try to fire the flame for what we're doing. Right now, I'm actually wearing something. This is actually, I'm putting on two precious minerals. So I have amethyst. That's the purple one.
Yes.
So these stones are actually very accessible in Zambia. This is actually a stone that's been quite sought internationally as well, especially with the Chinese people. They really like the amethyst stone. So this is something that's easily accessible, but mostly in the parts of Kalomo, Zimba, and all that's where you will get the most best quality amethyst. So obviously people need to be able to understand and say that when we talk about the precious minerals, we're not only talking about the emerald, the diamonds, and the gold. We're actually talking about the precious minerals as well, which has so many vast. I think I'll be able to explain more as we go. Which is the fact that we have so many precious stones in Zambia that if people can begin to understand, they're as lucrative, as valuable as an emerald. Yes, especially when they're cut and polished.
Yes, the value addition.
Yes.
We know that a lot of people that actually access these stones in its raw form are the Chinese, sometimes Indians, and so on. But what about the Zambians thinking of adding value to these particular stones before they can actually be sold out?
Currently, I know we have a gemstone university. I would say a training center in Copperbelt. That is the lapidary. And we have quite a few students that are there, and they are also doing their part. But then it would be good to have vast more education that can be placed all over these districts.
For value addition.
For people to really understand this sector and be able to see how they best add the raw material to the value addition. If I can mention, Clara, I think the reason why you notice we're trying to emphasize is that when you explore the minerals from the mine in the raw form, they will not have the same value when you cut and polish it. And that's the reason why we want people to really understand.
Absolutely, because the value goes up. When you cut and polish, then the value automatically goes up. And if anything, the international market is not interested in the raw material. They're interested in our value addition. Look at that.
Yeah, so it would be good that maybe we could have more centers out there that would really impact the community to really. And the thing about this thing is that you don't need to be a PhD holder, Clara, to be able to learn how to cut. It's a skill. Yes, it's an entrepreneurial skill that can be passed on to people out of interest. Autistic, somebody that has so much interest and attention to get to want to add this value. So I think this training is open to everybody that would want to learn and be able to do that.
How about the women that we have in your association? How is their interest like with regards to value addition?
Their interest is so high,
isn't it?
Because they've actually been exposed. I think you remember I mentioned to say our mission is also to have linkages, which is to link the African market, the Zambian market, to the international market.
Absolutely.
So we've had opportunities where we've had women travel from Zambia, go to China to go and exhibit there. And as a result, that became a key opener to the US. They've been to Germany, they've been to Dubai. They've attended various shows around the world. As a result,
hopefully with their value-added products.
With their value-added, at first they were taking the raw materials, and then now they had to realize what was on the market there.
Yes.
Because when you explain to somebody and tell them this is this stone, and this stone can change to this kind of jewelry, it's a lot. So now we thought there was a need to actually be taking the raw materials with the value addition.
When we speak about mining, generally, especially for women in mining in Zambia and in Africa at large, the issues of safety for women in mining, is something that has hampered, the number of women participation in the mining sector because of the risks that are involved in mining these precious stones and various aspects of minerals. Can you tell us what a keen interest that associations such as yours and many others in Zambia and in Africa are working on, just to ensure that their team are well vested in terms of the quality and the safety of their lives as they're doing, these divergent products and projects on mining?
Yes, which is very, very important, because you see, that's the reason we have, for example, the ZEMA, which is a requirement that's required as people are mining. Safety, the PPE clothes are very, very important and vital. You can't obviously be in mining and not understand the regulations and safety that come with mining. In regardless of whether you're a small scale miner, you're a trading person, you are actually processing. You need to understand because that's very, very key to be in the mining sector. So obviously we as an association are very keen on making sure that people really understand the PPE safety of the clothes, the helmets, the safety boots, everything that you need to be at the mine site and to actually be in mining itself. And then obviously we get to see also, people should understand if somebody was driving, we have women, like for example, that will be driving like a heavy duty truck.
We've seen them quite a lot.
We've seen quite a lot. They need to be educated to understand how to drive a heavy duty equipment, and then obviously what risks and emergencies they would take if something had to occur at a mining site, and where we would have maybe situations where maybe the mine would actually maybe collapse. People have to be educated, and that's the reason why it's important for people to not do away, really to understand that this is very important, because we're trying to maximize or minimize the things that happen at mine sites.
We have seen time immemorial, and even the recent one that actually happened, where lives were actually unfortunately lost.
So that is the case that really happens. So if we can put the right measures in place, we can obviously avoid that, and I think that's something we have to take very seriously.
So to that effect, sometimes it's about people not wanting to adhere to rules and regulations. Your association, as many as others, and as well as those in Zambia, in Africa, that actually advocate for women in mining, youth in mining, and all sorts of projects and products going on. When rules are being given by respective countries in terms of safety measures, and because we see a tendency where, especially the ones that have been long in this, they say, oh, we have been long in mining and we know this one, we can just go and pick, or we can just go and break, and all sorts of things. What do you encourage, especially the ones that are starting from scratch? They are using their hands mainly to produce these precious stones. What measures of safety would you want them to follow? Is it just the PPA? What are the special equipment that you think they can easily access as a way of preventing themselves from being hurt while on the job?
On that one, Clara, I think it's something that needs all of us to really play a part. It's not only the association. It basically even comes back to the communities where these people are actually doing the mines. Because you must know, mines are not in town. We have the mines in the rural areas. And mostly we're dealing with people also who are coming from a different culture on the way they've understood things, which they may have a right, because those things are found in their area, and they have been doing it the way their father has been doing it. You see what I mean? But there is need for people to really be educated.
Mindset change.
Yes, the mindset is very, very important. We need to be able to educate them and bring them to the place where we know they will be able to understand and see and reason that the agenda really is coming from a very good place, and which is obviously, if you're going to the mine site, please make sure you're able to wear this.
Yes.
Make sure you have the right clothes with you. You have the right helmet with you in case something falls down. Yes. You also have a reflector that somebody that is very far is able to see you. That there is somebody, because you must understand when somebody is driving a heavy duty car, they're not able to see on somebody that's below them. So, but if you're able to wear that reflector, then it means somebody's able to see you from afar and say, oh, there's somebody. Let me try and slow down and do that. But I think it's important that we need to, as an association, even the government and other stakeholders, Clara, to really emphasize and educate our people. Yes. You must understand, something that somebody does not know, you cannot expect anything.
Absolutely, because they're ignorant about it.
Of course.
Yeah. So, but one thing we know for sure is that these people in the rural areas, all they know is that they're breaking stones.
Of course.
All they know is that, no, I'm breaking stones, and there's a client that comes to buy from Lusaka, and then it ends there.
Yes.
So this is why I think we are really advocating that there must be trainings going on.
There has to be.
There has to be organizations that can actually fund these women from the rural areas that are involved in mining, so that they can get the right information and know the actual value of the precious stones that they're mining, because in most cases, especially the ones in the very places where the precious stones mines are, don't really understand.
They don't understand.
They don't understand the value, the actual value of their product.
You are very right, because I would mention, I've actually been privileged to attend an event in Botswana that has to do with the royalties, the queen mothers.
The queen mothers
of these regions, which is South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, and Uganda.
Oh.
And the reason why we have decided to go with that strategy, because we understand to say the leaders need to also understand
absolutely
the sector.
Yes.
So you need to have the queen mothers, you need to have the king, you need to have the chief, the chiefness, and everybody else informed. Because that way, you must understand the community is led by the leader. So if the leader understands, who is the best person to actually educate their own people?
It's actually people on the ground.
So as we're going out there trying to build, as you mentioned, the education, the trainings and everything, we need people also in the communities, in leadership, to understand what we're doing.
They become trainers. Because once they understand, then they can pass on the right information.
Then they can pass on the right information. As a result, we may do away from having people who will enter the communities, buy these minerals, equal to nothing.
Exploitation.
Wow, the mineral has so much value.
Look at
but we cannot blame them, because if they don't know the value, then they will just sell this thing to nothing. You understand? And sometimes they will obviously be exploited in terms of, maybe we'll have the underage people working at the mines when that is not allowed.
Absolutely.
So I think the most important thing, as you mentioned, is that there is need for the government, the private sector, and any other boards that are involved to really, really put in so much emphasis towards training. Capacity building is very, very important.
Because sometimes what we see is we have institutions that we have seen around, not mentioning a number of them, that have been in support, some of them international organizations in support of women in mining, and being able to release a few funds back and forth to be able to train them. To which extent would you want this training to go? Or rather, is it the recipients of the training that actually do not know what to do with the information that they get with regards to mining sector for women? Because it looks like there's a gap here. Once training is offered, what is the next thing that these associations and the women that are actually being encouraged and the youths expect?
Which is very true. On that one, I think if you let me, I would really like to really break it down.
Please,
because this is something that we also have noticed. And maybe that's the reason also we, as the multi-purpose, thought there was a need to really establish this association besides any of the other associations, which is obviously, we've been fortunate enough to attend some trainings, like for example under UNDP. There are people that are very vast and invested in the mineral sector. They've offered quite a lot of trainings to do with minerals, understanding the gemstones and development, sustainable living, and all sorts of things. They've really been very keen. But as you mentioned, it could be also that the people that are getting the trainings also don't know what is the next stage.
Yes.
Because that is very, very important. Because once you receive the training, what next?
What next?
It's very, very important.
Yes.
That is why when we thought of the raw materials, we needed to know what is next, because the raw material was not giving us the value that is required.
Yes.
Mining is quite expensive. Yes, to hire all the equipment. Think of the ones that don't even hire.
Exactly.
They're using the pick and shovel.
Yes.
How long will it take for you to be
for
able
them to have 1 ton? For example,
is quite a lot. So now we need to know what is the next move. And that is why we would want to make sure that the people that are out there and have the right information or have the right blueprint that is involved for us to have the next thing, which is very, very important, because obviously the market is very important.
Yes.
Once you have the education, you have the information, where else are you going with these minerals?
Mm-hmm.
What else can they be used for?
Yes.
What other value and input are they able to contribute in the market?
Yes.
And when we say about minerals, actually we're at a level where, Clara, we're not only thinking about jewelry. You understand? We're saying these minerals can be used for so much.
Absolutely. Yes. Especially now, there are critical minerals that are actually being used for all sorts of things. And it's better we position ourselves as women to be able to tap into that market. The carbon market.
Yes, we need to be able to tap in.
Yeah.
Because some of the minerals are actually able to be used for power.
Yes.
We can use them for power.
Absolutely.
So this issue we're having, even about the load shedding and everything, if we can have the right people who are out there to really see how we're able to use these minerals, that meaning we can maybe minimize all the issues that we're having with our power, and obviously be able to use them for other things as well under the economy and other things that we can be able to do. So overall is when we are trained, what is the next thing to do? And those that are training, there are follow-ups that are being done, because you can't just keep training people out there. The industry continues to remain the way it is. Then there's something wrong.
There's a gap there.
There's a gap that's missing.
Yes.
And that gap needs to be filled. Because you don't want to have more people that are just getting trained there and they have the certificate. It's seated with them. But then the sector continues not to move and thrive where it needs to be able to do. So it will be important that people like, obviously, I've had interactions with, we've had interactions with GIT.
GIT inspections,
you people have been very instrumental to be able to understand, to say what is the next niche that will be able to help this sector
bridge the gap.
Which is very, very true. And obviously we have people like ZTA which are out there to try and sell us the right market. And obviously we have the Lusaka Chamber as well, which is there to really look at the private sector. The people that are involved to really market and take these minerals from their country of origin to the next place that understands the value of these things. So there's a lot of work to do.
There's a lot of work to do, actually, absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about the collaborations that we are promoting in Africa with regards precious stones and the trade of it, and how you're just collaborating with the networks that you've actually created over the period of time that you've been in mining?
We were actually fortunate to just come back from Ghana. We went to try and create a collaboration between the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners. I must say it was a very, very
good one, isn't it?
It was a very, very good one, and we were able to really see that as much as you mentioned, mining is not a one-man's job. You need to be able to put a workforce together to be able to have efficient production. So you would know that Ghana has been mining longer than us.
Longer than us, actually.
Yes, longer than us, but only in one. They also only are interested in one mineral, which was the gold. So when we went there and we were telling them to say we are into the precious minerals, and
this is what they are.
This is what they are, and we were fortunate to meet some of the mines and go to some of the mine sites, and they said we actually have access to these minerals, but we throw them away. Because we've never known the need of what to do with them. So we said, my God, you're throwing away quartz?
You're throwing money out.
You're throwing away this?
But like we are saying, it's because they didn't know what it was.
They didn't know what it was.
Yes.
And through that, Clara, would be happy to say we're really looking forward, obviously, with the Accra Chamber of Commerce and our High Commissioner in Ghana as well, and obviously our ambassadors here, to see how now we can be able to formalize this collaboration between the Ghana National Association with the multi-purpose women in mining here. And that is to be able, we noticed to say there was need. We needed their gold, they need our gemstones. We have far more experience in terms of the gemstones,
and the value addition.
The value addition. They have no experience.
So we could do a cultural business exchange.
Yes,
we can do.
Which is to get our precious minerals, put them on their gold. They can get our minerals, put them on their gold. As a result, you can only imagine gold with a gemstone. That's adding so much value. Something that you would get for this price, you will get it for more.
Higher.
price
yes.
as you add to that.
Absolutely.
So that is one of the correlations that I might say we're really looking forward to.
Yes.
And a lot of other people that we've obviously come in contact with quite a lot of few people. And I think the most important thing is really just to make sure that we get the support that we need also from our government
yes.
as well. Because, you know, we're going out there as a private sector,
yeah.
but we still need the support of our government.
Yes,
and people that are in charge to see how we can be able to formalize.
To that effect, how serious are you being taken as an association, as associations, especially by the government ministries that are responsible? Do you think they take you as serious as they should take you? To this, what we mean is we want to see, do they really take your request, especially for training, your request for collaborations, and for their support that serious? Turnaround time. When you make a request, how long does it take before they can respond to you, or do they even pay attention? Or are they taking you as a cooperating partner, towards economic growth in the mining sector?
I must mention, we're here to actually find out what problems we have, and we must speak them as they are.
Yeah.
When it comes to response, it's not something that's done easily, which sometimes really does frustrate our work. As a result, it slows down some of the things we are trying to do out there. So obviously, it takes quite a long time to get the right response that we need. Before we could actually even travel to Ghana, we had actually reached out to certain people just for them to be able to respond to us. We unfortunately never even got that response. We ended up just pushing, and we went to Ghana without the consent of some of the stakeholders to actually be able to be part of everything. So you can only imagine if we didn't push and persevere what we wanted, because you must understand, we understand this sector. We understand this sector. We know where the need is.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we know where we can go. So I think it's important that when certain policies are being built, it will be important that maybe they also get in touch with the people in the sector that understand the sector
on the onset
on what needs to be done. Yes, I know we have people that will come, the technocrats, they will tell us the systems. But then if you break it down to me, I will tell you how I would want us to run it. That way for us to be able to change this sector. So I think it's really important that things have to change, really. Because as much as we're trying to push as women in mining, we need also the policies and people that are out there to really try and understand.
So that it can carry weight.
It can carry
because
weight.
What I sense, having been in the industry myself for almost 16 years now, and longer than that on the other side, I understand also the fact that sometimes we want to put a lot of blame, maybe a lot of weight on the government. But rather, perhaps the question that we should now ask ourselves is, we need to turn the tables around. We need now to tell the government what we want to do.
Very right.
All we want to hear from them is in fact, all we want to see from them is just a go ahead. As a parent would usher a child into something positive.
Yes.
Is that what we are saying?
We actually, you remember that we had an event in South Africa where it had the mining. You saw how the turnout was. And I believe everybody there had the same objective. Everybody had the same challenge from different parts of the world. People came there. So you are very right to say we somehow need the government to listen to us. Sit us down on a table and be able for once to put action to what we say. And not just for us to be able to keep writing things down on paper, but then the formalization takes a different direction.
That's what I was going to get.
Because that sector itself, like I said, what is happening is that we're not moving. We are not moving. When Clara continued to say, I said the mining industry, the gemstone precisely, is a very lucrative industry. When we get these minerals and see how the international market gets excited, or how we're getting even certain people coming into our country, taking our minerals, and selling them out there on the international market, can you compare the price? It shows you that there is value to something that we had. So if we can pay attention to that components, break it down and be able to really put attention to what it needs, it means we would definitely improve certain things in our country through the revenues that we can be able to gain from the gemstones.
Obviously.
You must understand we pay our taxes. Minorities are being
paid.
Yes. We have people that are exporting.
Yes.
They pay money to export their goods. Sure. And also the minerals that are going outside there on the international market, meaning as we sell and come back, we too are responsible to pay taxes to the government. So please, I think there's a need for really a lot of things to be done, and we are hoping that even through this thing we're doing now, this will also really shed a lot of light to that area that needs to be sat on. Let them sit with the right people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to that effect, I think I was actually talking about the gap that is, between the government. Why are we mentioning the government? Because mineral business, you will not do it without the government. They have a part to play.
Of course.
And so we're going to keep mentioning them on this podcast freely.
Yes.
Why? Because we know that whatever it is that the women in mining and the businesses in mining are doing is also for economic growth.
Of course.
And of course, this podcast is meant to speak and discuss on issues that can actually enhance these small, businesses coming up to be able to take a certain route and be able to add value to the growth of the nation financially. So to that effect, our emphasis is that the women do take it differently this time around, hopefully, that they can be able to work within the private sector, but of course with the government at some extent, to be able to bridge that gap between trainings and the practicality of events. It's like after training, there's a huge gap.
Yes.
Nothing else happens after going to conferences and coming back and forth. You find people will still be coming, and so even when we speak about market linkages, we still have people finding it difficult to access, certain information with regards import and export.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Wow. You are really understanding what it is that we're going through.
Yeah.
So when you say the government, and you said we'll continue to mention them because we are compliant people, and it's very important as we're taking out these minerals. The reason why we, even as an association, we're trying to encourage the people out there to say, look, instead of you being an illegal miner, go ahead and legalize your documentation.
Yes.
I know it's hard and it's expensive to be able to process an exploration license, to do all the documentation with them and everything.
Yes.
It will be. But in the meantime, there's a place where you can start from before you can get to where you need to be. So it's very, very important that when we talk about capacity building, it's a very vital component for our economic growth. Because for people to really be able to thrive in this industry, there is importance for people to understand the sector.
Yes.
And it's important for the government to also to just really understand and sit down with the people that have been doing this thing longer and say, how best can we be able to turn your idea into something that can be able to be workable for us to be able to put our heads together and move forward. We are really looking forward to that, Clara.
Absolutely.
And as an association, you can only imagine to say, as we're going out there on the international market, the question we keep trying to ask ourselves is that we've been fortunate to see what other countries are doing.
Yeah.
And now we're saying, if we can bring the same thing to the Zambian people, in terms of maybe even have access to equipment, far more technological equipment that is out there that is making our friends to be able to polish a stone to this standard, then Zambia can be limitless.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to that effect, there's a lot of mindset transformation conferences that are supposed to take place still, but more emphasis being put on what follows next after the conference.
It's very, very important.
Because at the end of the day, even when we talk of polishing with the few equipments that we have, the quality of the polished products, is it comparable onto the local and the international market? You think it's highly sought for? What quality of products do we, especially after value adding, the ones that have been value added so far?
We are trying to do our best, which is obviously we've gotten, for example, help from the institutes I mentioned to you before, who we take our raw materials to, and they cut them. I believe there's more need for that sector to really be improved. Not necessarily the skill, but I would say maybe in terms of equipment. The equipment, there's need for so much to be invested in equipment so that we're able to really polish up to the international standard that needs to. And when you mentioned to say having all these conferences, but what next? That one is very, very important because we cannot keep having conferences, workshops, and a lot of things, but nothing is really
moving in practice.
Because when there is nothing that is happening, it's either maybe people don't understand what happened in the first place.
Yes.
They didn't understand the training in the first place.
Yes.
Because when a training takes place, people should begin to chase that training and a follow-up and growth that should happen after the training. But then if you have more people only having the training and then there's silence and dominance in between, then you should know people maybe didn't understand the training in the first place. Yes. Are we training maybe people the wrong things? Are we sending the wrong information out there?
It's actually very worrisome. Yeah. It's very worrisome. To that effect as well, you know, what we note sometimes is like we sabotage ourselves. We need to enhance our mindset with regards to business ethics and understand the nitty-gritties of the mining sector. Yes. When you are dealing with an international client, are our women taught in terms of, you know, integrity, in terms of, you know, try to be as genuine, because you as a woman in mining, as an individual, a business person who is selling these precious stones to a foreigner, if something goes wrong, you are actually hampering the name of the state.
Very true.
And we have had cases where, you know, such situations have happened, and we have had foreigners complaining, and sometimes you find some of these institutions are actually shunning away from helping certain individuals because of not knowing just how straight they are in their dealings with regards, you know, these minerals that they are trading, especially going outside the country.
Well, thank you so much, Clara. I think that is there was need for us to discuss about that. And maybe if I can go back, I would say when we come to the mining industry, I have had more negative response than the positive response.
Isn't it?
And that is the fact that people seem to have the perception that the business is a very risky business. Yeah. It's a risky business. There are far more crooks than people that are straight. I must use that.
Yes, true.
Yes. There are far more people that are doing things dubiously than the straight way, which is quite unfortunate. We have people that have done that, maybe in the past, maybe even people that are still doing that. Then we may have a number of people that are actually very trustworthy and are trying to really change
the industry.
The industry. So as a result, we even as an association have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Which is why we say sometimes we're telling people out there, before you can actually do business, you need to do your due diligence on the person that you're trying to buy these minerals from.
Trust them?
Can you trust them?
Yes.
You understand? Have they given you the right documentation? Yes. Have you gone to the right parties?
Do they actually have the product?
The product itself. Yes.
Especially on the trade side.
Because you can't just get a picture and then wire money to somebody over a picture. Maybe that picture has been on the site for 2 years. That doesn't even belong to that individual. Wow. So there's so much we're doing as an association, which is why we're trying to really mediate between the local people, the international market, and mostly just to make sure it's a safe zone, which is we must understand the person that comes to affiliate with the association as a member. If they can't mine, they can trade. When they trade, can we look at the quality?
Can we look at the quality aspect of the Do we actually give the client the quality they need and represent the country well?
Well,
absolutely.
Because integrity is very, very important. And most especially, we want to have people that recommend us. Yes. Because if one business goes out there and it's good, it means we will have 10 more people that will come. But if we have one business that goes out there and is bad, we will have 100 people complaining and saying something went wrong. So people really need to understand that it's very, very important that to be in this industry, obviously integrity is very important. Consistency
is also very
important. And mostly you need to be genuine.
Yes. Because to that effect, you know, I was thinking, usually when you see, particularly not only in the precious stones, but also in the cobalt, the zinc, the manganese and all that, the inflation of the grades of these, minerals, especially when they're dealing with an international client. Yes. How are you preparing your women to be able to ensure that integrity is upheld and that the quality standards are actually followed according to the international standards?
We're really trying as much as we can. But we must understand sometimes, Clara, we're dealing with human beings. Yes. And every time I think what is important is really to set rules. You set your standards, and as women come to the association, they must meet those standards. If they are unable to meet, then unfortunately that person cannot continue to be a member of that standard.
Just to say, you have the criteria, like you say,
we have the criteria
that you follow, to be able to bring the people on board.
Yes, because once anything goes wrong, it means they are also tainting and tarnishing the name of the association as well. And we can't keep doing that, because what will happen is that so many lives will begin to get affected from the unprogressive limitation we're having in an association. So it is better to send out the right message out there, which is obviously we are trying to really maybe come up with more programs and trainings also that have to do with women, to really understand when they're going out there on the international market, what is expected of you. Presentation is very, very important.
Very important.
Yes. Have you gone out there with a business card?
Yes.
Do you have a platform that people are able to find you? Do you have a website? Is your company registered?
Yes.
Are you compliant with the regulations in Zambia here? And obviously, this brand that you're selling out there, if you believe in the brand, then you must not, anybody else will believe in what you're selling out there.
Yes.
So it's very, very important that we begin to also really, it's a continuation. Yes, let's continue to talk to our women as they go out there. Let them look as their part, as they are selling.
As they're selling.
Yes.
And what is also very interesting is that women now, they know how to, handle business.
Yes.
Even as we speak, not all of them, in fact, a number of them are actually doing very, very genuine business. We are putting emphasis if we can have 100% of top quality products and 100% of integrity and ethics being followed, especially when it comes to trading in this mining sector. Do we have collaborations happening so far? Or if they maybe when I have business, I'll say, no, I'm not going to tell Ms. Wembia, because this is my business until I find the product that they want. Now they don't want to share market.
Actually, you will have more of that. Of people failing to sometimes collaborate amongst themselves.
Yes.
But what happens is that they actually disadvantage themselves.
Yes.
Because with business, you must understand the person may have the minerals, but somebody else may have the logistics. And somebody else may have the how to be able to transfer that product into revenue.
Yes.
We have the lawyers that are supposed to be present when we're doing these businesses, which is to make you understand.
So you can see the chain.
Yes, the contract, before you can sign anything, Madam Wembia, do you have the capacity to be able to supply this tonnage of it? If you're not able to do not sign this contract. Because what will happen is that it may look like a document to you, but actually you also, as a seller, you will actually be breaching the contract, and you'll be able to be sued. So it's a system. Madam Clara, that needs to be put together. Geological survey, and they are also to be able to really make sure that these stones, before they leave the market, which is the Zambian market, they test them and see that all the tests have come out and really they are up to that standard. That is also a document that somebody should also be able to attach. We have people in ZRA that's obviously with certificate of origin, which certifies that my stones that I'm taking out there to the international market, they are actually from Zambia.
And it's also so particular place.
And this coming from this place, and my government actually supports what I'm doing, because we don't want to have the stones that are coming in maybe from Angola and we're selling them as Zambian people to the wrong people. So you can only imagine. All I would say is that it's a system that really needs to be built, continuously be built for us to really see a lot of change in the community.
And I think it's based on trust, because this business is very sensitive.
Yes.
And sometimes because of the reputation of some local businesses, and you find some of them that think they've actually been doing genuine business don't want to associate.
Yes.
And so you would understand them on that front.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, what we're saying is we're encouraging companies, to legitimize their businesses.
Of course.
And if they can be legal, and if they can do businesses, up the table, they will get a lot of support, even from the private sector themselves, and they'll get a lot of support from other organizations with regards, market linkages, with regards conferences. And at the end of the day, you can't continue to be a baby in mining sector. You've got to grow. And when you grow, it must be seen that you have grown, but you have also grown legally.
Yes.
Isn't it?
That is very, very true.
It is a very... Speak to the women. Sometimes women fear this industry. They say that industry is for men and all that.
Which is true.
On a social note, just let them know how fun this industry is and how lucrative it is.
No, it is. It is. And I mean, like I mentioned to you, you would actually be very surprised to say, I would be, why is she so interested in this industry? Because you see, there's something about anything you don't attach passion to believe you me, will not work for you.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important. Even the women that are out there, your mindset really has to change. And that is the first thing is, are you really interested to want to learn about the minerals? Because if you understand the sector, it's easy for you to be able to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And you will obviously attach so much effort and focus to what you're trying to do. As a result, that will give birth to revenue.
Yes.
Yeah. Because if you're just selling it out of just trying to gain revenue, really, even the people that you're trying to sell they're capable to also see that you don't even understand what you're able to do. So obviously for me, I'm really encouraging women out there to say, this is where they need to be.
Yes.
You see, on the spiritual way, God gave us these minerals.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine how it is that you can go on the ground unidentified, begin to dig at that place, and you find these stones are underneath right there, and where you're able to get them, change them to what they need to be, and you're able to convert them to revenue. So you can only imagine it's about time that women really need to wake up and be able to come into this industry. And when we're talking about mining, Clara, it's not only that we want them to do the mining, there's so many other areas that they can do that. We need people to be geologists.
Yes.
We need people to be engineers.
Yes.
We need people
some
to be
of
able
them on the legal front.
Yes, on the legal front. Yes, in the legal front.
Yes.
But are able to really mitigate and understand and protect us from the international market or whatever it is that we may have. You know, they're able to advise us to say, you will go this direction if you were trying to do this. There's so much things that people can do when it comes to the mining industry, you know, and even people that will come in to sort the stones, just to sort them from the high grade to the high grade.
That's a quality way.
Yes. That is also a standard and an industry by itself.
Yes.
So women need to be able to come and just know that it's a vast industry, and we need as much as women that can be there to be able to cut our stones, to even just identify.
Yes.
To say gemologist and say, this is this stone.
Absolutely.
As you see it right now, this is a red garnet.
Yes.
This is quartz. This is a red tourmaline. We need people to be able to.
And do you know that these stones, they're not easily identifiable?
No.
Do you know that they're supposed to be easily identifiable, but the opposite is the case? The opposite is the case even by the people in the communities themselves.
Yes.
And this is where you get to see tourists coming in and they find them really just piled somewhere. And they'll ask the same community members, can you load them, put them in my car? And I'm going to put them on my yard.
Which is very, very true.
Yet it's going to add value and actually going to sell them
as
precious stones.
So there's need, Clara.
There's need to awaken.
Yes, for people to really even just understand the stones themselves. As they look at them, they will be able to understand to say, this stone is this kind of stone. Which I know even Ministry of Mines also is still also on a work in progress. Because they've had so many samples maybe that have been taken to them. More stones keep being discovered.
Yes.
That's how rich Zambia is.
Can you imagine?
Yes, more stones are being discovered, which
we
are
need
not
to
even
get to a
yet
point of monetizing all this.
They are not even yet identified. They've not even been coded. So there is need for that as well.
Yes.
Because what happens is that if the stones are not coded, then it means in the system they are not.
They are not there.
Yes.
So this is the mapping that is actually being spoken about.
There is need.
That the government is through the mining sector is trying to do the mapping in order to try and know which mineral comes from which particular place, and so that it can be easy to identify. And even it will even help when it comes to export markets.
Which is very, very true.
Yeah. So I think that being said, we would like to thank you, Ms. Wembia, for taking your time to come as president of MWIMAZ, the Women in Mining Association, Multi-Purpose Women in Mining Association of Zambia. We appreciate the work that you're doing on the ground, and that we just want to encourage the women to, continue coming in numbers onto your associations together with others. Yes. And that being the case, we also encourage that you, the associations, can actually collaborate in Zambia, but also collaborate on an international market, maybe the SADC region.
Of course.
Because if we keep working in isolation, it means we are doing the country a disservice. So what we want is to have a situation where we can lean on each other.
Yes.
We can rely on each other. Of course, with rules and guidelines being put in place on how we can affiliate. Isn't that right?
That's very, very right. So from our part, really, I would say, we're just really humbled to be here. And what you're doing here is the drive that we needed as an association. And maybe I may speak on behalf of everybody, which is obviously most mining association, regardless of the names of who is leading these things. I believe the objective is the same. We're all fighting for the same goal. So we're definitely looking forward to really see how we can be able to change our sector and thrive in this sector. Let's get the right people who understand what we need to do, and let them also come on board to really understand what we need. because we know what we need and how we can be able to change this sector.
Absolutely.
And for the women, really, we're just looking forward to the women. I think what is important is that they need to be able to come to us. We can be able to start from somewhere, educate them, open the access to them to get the access to training, because they must understand the sector.
Absolutely.
We have all these people that have come on board, and UNICAF. We have all the other people that have come on board to really try and change the mindset of the women. So we're really looking forward, and I know that really our future is positive.
It's actually very bright.
It's very, very,
a lot
bright.
is coming, and we are excited.
Thank you so
So
much.
once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you, and we're looking forward to seeing the positive results out of all this that we are trying to do on the ground.
Definitely.
There you have it, our viewers. This has been Quality for Growth podcast. We just concluded, a conversation, a very insightful one, with the president of MWIMAZ, Women in Mining Association of Zambia. We have spoken a number of things with regards to the mining sector and women, and how lucrative it is. So please do feel free to contact us in any way you can on our social media platforms. Drop your questions there. Who knows? You may be able to be inspired to join the mining sector and grow your business if you're already in the mining sector, and maybe find a way of collaborating, and hence Quality for Growth podcast. My name is Clara, your host. See you next time.